welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Crystal Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Crystal Kennedy, what all I see is Wonder Woman. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you from the Stream.tv studios here in Hollywood, California. We're so glad to have you with us. And a little bit of a teaser coming up soon. Aaron Darling and I actually got to go see Thor: The Dark World last night. We're going to do a full spoiler-filled review after the film opens, but for now I'm just going to tell you that I really, really liked it. I'm not going to give you any more details other than that.
And we also have joining us AMC's Movie News. Oh, wow, I almost forgot who she is. She's our correspondent, Miss Erin Darling.
It's been a while since I've been here. It's been about a week, so I am more than happy to be back with the team. So excited to see Wonder Woman over here. I'm loving this costume. I can't wait to read all your YouTube comments about it.
I was going to say, wait a minute, did somebody give Erin a promotion? I didn't hear about it.
You know,
wait, can I have one?
Wonder Woman's on the brain. Wonder Woman's on the brain. Okay, well, one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood now seems to be official. It's being reported that Kick-Ass and Savage's star Aaron Taylor Johnson is officially set to play Pietro Quicksilver Maximoff in Joss Whedon's Avengers Age of Ultron. However, Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver won't be the first one on the big screen. Evan Peters is set to play the same character in Bryan Singer's X-Men Days of Future Past this May. John, what do you make of Aaron Taylor Johnson officially taking the role of Quicksilver?
Well, yeah, it is one of the worst kept secrets, and we've talked about this a couple of times because the rumor has been out there for a long time. We've known that Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be Quicksilver for a very, very long time. So I'm just going to kind of reiterate something that I've already mentioned. If you're going to have Quicksilver in X-Men or Avengers Age of Ultron, then I'm more than happy that it's Aaron Taylor Johnson. I like him as an actor very, very much. I think he's got a lot of range, and I think he'll be a great Quicksilver. My whole caveat to the whole thing is that I still don't believe that they should be using Quicksilver in the Avengers. Now, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are the only two, and you know what, I get a lot of questions about this in the mailbag. Let me be clear. These are the only two characters that both Fox and Marvel have an agreement on that they both can use. Because, you know, I get a lot of people emailing saying, well, this person was in X-Men and in the Avengers. Does that mean they can both be used too? No. Kevin Feige was very clear that only Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch fall under this special clause that each of them can use them. But I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that X-Men is also going to be using him, and the fact that Avengers can use him, but Avengers cannot mention that he is a mutant, and they can't mention that his father is Magneto, and, you know, then you get into X-Men where they can't, you know, mention obviously that he was in the Avengers, stuff like that. Neither one of them can actually give us a true Quicksilver. They can't, because neither one of them can use the full totality of who the character is. They don't have that at their disposal. I would much rather see, if only one could use him, I'd rather see him in the X-Men universe. But if they're both going to split them up and say we can't use the totality of who the character is, look, Avengers has 100 other characters they could use. 100 other great characters. So why use a character that has one foot in another universe? You can't use the totality of who the character is. I've never understood the rationale behind putting him in this. In the first place, he's a great character, but you can't actually represent the character properly, so what's the point? But anyway, he is in there, and if he is, why not make it Aaron Taylor Johnson? I think he's a great choice. Aaron?
I agree with you. I think he's a fantastic choice, and I love Kick-Ass. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's interesting that Evan Peters is also in the original Kick-Ass. But here's my problem with this. I don't like this because I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is the better casting pick. And so I don't really want to see Evan Peters play him first and then see Aaron Taylor Johnson follow when I think he's the better pick personally. And I guess time will only tell. Time will only tell who is remembered as Quicksilver, so I guess we'll see what people think when both of these movies come out. But I agree with you, it's really unfortunate with all the rights, it's so complicated, and that we'll never get Quicksilver as he's meant to be. But if we did have to have one Quicksilver, I would want it to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. Sorry,
you know,
I can't
the
talk
interesting
right now.
thing too is that, you know, X-Men has a history of having a lot of characters in their films that they don't necessarily use very much. I mean, how much Jubilee was on screen in the original X-Men? I think maybe she had one line and just walked through the camera once. They had a lot of mutants that we knew who they were, but had no dialogue, just showed up. And although Peters is in the X-Men film as Quicksilver, I got a feeling he's going to be a pretty petite role, so hopefully it won't be too contrasting with Aaron Taylor Johnson. We'll see.
Thor: The Dark World opens in AMC theaters everywhere on November 7th, and now Avengers fans have yet another reason to be excited. It's just been announced that a special 5-minute preview of the upcoming Captain America: The Winter Soldier will play in front of the film. A Disney Marvel rep said the following: Thor: The Dark World is going to be an exceptional theater-going experience, and this sneak peek will really rev fans up for the return of not only the Mighty Avenger, but the first Avenger as well. Erin, are you excited for the 5-minute preview of the new Captain America in front of the new Thor?
Indeed, I am. There's a lot of new things happening here, and I'm really excited to see this because I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I really trust Marvel Disney and their vision and what they've been doing. It's been proven time and time again that they have really mapped this out, so I can't wait to see a preview of what's going on, and I want to know what Steve Rogers has been up to since the last time we saw him in the Avengers, so I cannot wait to see this preview. How about you, John?
Yeah, I've actually become a big fan of these extended previews before films. I remember, I think the last one that I really saw was before The Hobbit. They gave us this extended preview of the newest Star Trek film, and it was like a 7-minute long preview. And you know what? I thought, my mindset is that it's just going to be a trailer. I mean, that's all it is. It's a trailer. It's just a glorified trailer on steroids. But you know what? It's actually pretty special when it's cool footage. You can really get you ramped up. I was already excited for the new Star Trek film, but then when I saw that 7-minute preview, I was like, that really gives you a taste for the movie. And all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah! I was really excited about it then. And, you know, I loved the trailer for Captain America: Winter Soldier. I was really stoked for that. And now seeing it in front of Thor, a full 5-minute preview. Hopefully it's not just a 5-minute trailer, but an actual 5-minute chunk of the film. If they do that, I'm going to be really stoked. So just another reason to be excited for when Thor opens up, because Thor's really good, but I'm not going to tell you any more about it until after it opens.
Rude!
Okay, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Erin and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
It's just been announced that Jack Reacher writer and director Christopher McQuarrie will also direct the next Mission Impossible film, has signed on to write and direct the live-action adaptation of the anime Starblazers, based on the 70s Japanese anime space battleship Yamato. John, buy or sell a live-action Starblazers?
Buy, 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 buy. I'm going to tell you right now, this is my favorite piece of news all week. And it's some obscure little title, Starblazers. What? The original title, by the way, was Space Battleship Yamato. I'm going to say that again. The original title of this is Space Battleship Yamato. I have been waiting for a live-action North American Starblazers film my whole life. I watched this cartoon when I was a kid. It was my favorite. For those of you who don't know the story, put on the nerd hat, because here we go. There's a distant evil tyrant named Deathlock who is, and his culture, his world, called the Gamelons, who are attacking Earth by sending these radioactive asteroid bombs to Earth, and it's just completely infected Earth with this terrible radiation. So humanity has to move like 5 miles underground, but the radiation is slowly seeping through the surface, and they've only got 1 year left to live. Now humanity then gets a message from this distant world, from this princess of this distant world, saying, hey, I've got a machine that will clean up all your radiation. All you got to do is come and get it. So what humanity does is they dig up, I'm not joking, they dig up the old World War II Japanese battleship Yamato and retrofit it to be a space battleship. Let me repeat that. They dig up the World War II battleship Yamato and retrofit it to become a space battleship. And the whole show is just basically about the Starblazers, that's the name of the military force, flying the space battleship Yamato off to get, I think the name of the world is Iskandar, to get this radiation curing machine, fly back, and they're fighting the Gamelons all along the way, and blah, blah, and they come back. It's awesome! It's so awesome, and I'm so excited for this. So yeah, for me, it's a buy. Erin?
For me, it's also a buy, but for a different set of reasons, mainly because I love Christopher McQuarrie. He's an Oscar award-winning screenwriter in his work in The Usual Suspects. Fantastic.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, so he's a very talented writer. We knew he was going to write this project a couple years ago, but we didn't know he was going to direct it. He hasn't directed that much yet, but I do like his work. I enjoyed Jack Reacher in terms of the directing, so I think it will be fun. I think he knows action, so I'm excited to see how this all turns out. It's a buy.
Me too.
So I'm confused, John. You're excited about this or not excited?
You know, I got a little bit of enthusiasm for the project, you know.
The next installment of the Hunger Games franchise, Hunger Games Catching Fire, opens in AMC theaters everywhere on November 22nd. Yesterday, a brand new IMAX poster for the film was released, which you can see here. Aaron, buy or sell this new Hunger Games poster?
Well, as you guys know, if you've been watching the show and my opinions on movie posters, I'm very picky with what I like, and I have opinions on what I don't like. And my main problem with Hunger Games is that all of their marketing materials look exactly the same. Until now. So this is a huge buy for me, you guys. I'm really excited about this poster. I think it's great. I love diversity. I appreciate it in marketing materials. And this poster gives us a whole different look of what we have to look forward to. So I'm excited for this. I'm going to buy this poster.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you're absolutely right. I have liked the posters I've seen, but I agree with your criticism of them. All the posters and marketing materials, they've all had the same feel and flavor, just with slightly different poses. You know, Katniss is generally staring off in a 32-degree angle somewhere with a straight lace look, blah, blah. Oh, she must be thinking something serious. This is a beautifully designed poster. This is really nice. The one thing I would have liked to have seen it, just minor nitpicking thing, you see her on the top, you see President Snow down the bottom with the blindfold. It would have been nice to see more of the actual characters in the film instead of faceless kind of figures throughout it, but that's just a minor nitpick. I think this is really creative, and the fact that it's a special poster just for the IMAX release, very, very cool. For me, it's a buy.
This is the best birthday present anyone could give me, Catching Fire on my birthday. So excited, and I love the poster. Universal Pictures is working on bringing the 1968 TV series, It Takes a Thief, to the big screen. Robert Wagner, Malachi Throne, and Fred Astaire starred in the original show, which ran for 66 episodes and followed cat burglar Alexander Mundy, played by Wagner, as he agrees to work for the United States Secret Intelligence Agency. In exchange for his release from prison, John, buy or sell bringing It Takes a Thief to the big screen?
You know, while in generally speaking, I like the sounds of it, I'm going to have to sell it. I mean, we have seen this formula a couple of times now of there's a guy who's great at what he does, that's a criminal kind of thing, and then the government comes to him and says, we're going to let you out if you help us fight a greater evil than you to do. We saw it in The Rock. We see it in a Chris Hemsworth film that's coming up where he's playing like a guy who fights cyber terrorism because he's such a great hacker. I know a lot of hackers. They don't look like Chris Hemsworth. And so this kind of seems like a little bit of a formula that's being used. Plus, it seems like they're just trying to capitalize on, look, we've got the Mission Impossible franchise. We got the Man from U.N.C.L.E. coming that we know they want to make a new franchise. And this is clearly franchise bait. They want to see if they can turn this into a franchise as well. It may end up being awesome, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out. But for now, for me, it's a sell. Aaron?
For me, it's a buy. I really like stories that you were describing earlier. I'm a sucker for the whole bad guy coming over to the good side. I think
that's women in general, my friend. That's women in general.
Maybe it is, but I do like stories like this, and I think this might be something that I personally would gravitate towards, so I'm going to go ahead and buy it, although I'm not familiar with the original TV series. Have you seen it?
I have not, but I do like Robert Wagner.
I do too.
Mark Wahlberg has come on board as a producer for the upcoming film, The Roman. The Roman tells the story of a young Julius Caesar and his rise to power from his early days in the Roman army and his capture and subsequent escape from pirates. No word yet on who will direct the film or production dates. Aaron, buy or sell the sounds of The Roman?
I'm going to buy this because for me at this point, The Roman sounds like a very interesting project. I love that period of time. I'm a sucker for historical dramas as well. And I trust Mark Wahlberg. I like him more and more with every career move he makes. As a producer, he's worked on Prisoners, Boardwalk Empire, and The Fighter. So I trust his taste, and I'm really interested to see this. So I think it's definitely going to be a buy for me.
Yeah, Wahlberg's one of these guys in Hollywood who's really diversified themselves. He's trying to Clooney himself up a little bit. Yeah, and it is working. He's actually not on Clooney's level yet, but it is working. He's bringing it about pretty well. Yeah, this does sound interesting to me. Julius Caesar is, we've all had to read Julius Caesar, and it sounds stereotypical to say, probably my favorite Shakespearean work. There's so much going on in there. I'm a little bit worried of the heroification of a villain. If they really want to show us Caesar going from hero, but his descent into villainhood as opposed to a hero who just becomes misunderstood and whatever, I would be turned off by that. But if they stick true to where he ends up and like some mad, descent into, power hungry and ambition and things like that, because that's what he says. He is ambitious. If you've read the play, then I'd be all for it. So this is very interesting. I like that Wahlberg's attached to it. So for me, also, it's a buy. All right, folks, before we get to Mailbag, one of the films opening in AMC theaters everywhere this week is a really great little comedy called Las Vegas. It is a movie that I'm going to forthrightly tell you I feared would suck. And when I sat down with the director and cast, I told them in advance, man, I was afraid this movie was going to suck, but you know what? I ended up really liking it. I thought it was really charming and a really good Vegas movie on top of that. Now, one of the things that I got to do, probably one of, if not the absolute highlight of my career so far, I got to go and sit down with Robert De Niro, who I snubbed afterwards, as it turns out, Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, and Kevin Kline, and talk to them about their new film, Las Vegas. We want to share just a segment of that interview with you right now, so take a look. Well, the first thing I got to ask, when I see that this film is coming, this is like the better version of The Expendables. I wonder, how did this come together? Because I'm sure there wasn't like some casting call that went out and, oh look, Michael Douglas, Robert De Niro, Kevin Kline, Morgan Freeman just happened to respond. Have you guys talked about doing something together before, or did it just kind of come about?
No, CBS Films, which is a fairly new company, was developing this, and the original script was much more about a relationship, about just the two of us, character Robert. And I expressed some interest, and then they developed another draft, which was even stronger and better. Bobby showed some interest, and then these parts got stronger, and they came together. But since you're from AMC Theaters, how were we lucky enough to get our trailer married to Gravity?
Oh, I think there must have been some bribery involved somewhere.
Is that how it usually works?
It works with me.
Yeah, okay, good.
You know, it's great because watching films like this, no matter how good the cast is or how good the script is, this film really relies on, if we don't feel the chemistry between you guys and believe that you guys are lifelong friends for 60 years, this film doesn't work. But it did. Why did that chemistry on screen work so well between the four of you?
Maybe that is an unanswerable question because you use the term chemistry. I don't know if my chemistry is actually going to work with Robert's chemistry, as it were. I know that I will do whatever I have to do to please him when we're working, likewise. But chemistry is the great unknown in that you don't know what's going to happen there until you're actually in that situation. You know what I'm saying? We start working together, but it's not a big mystery as to whether or not. I know that I'm going to enjoy working with these guys. There's no question about it.
Las Vegas opens in AMC Theaters everywhere this weekend. You can head on over right now to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. I recommend it. I had a really good time watching it. I'm probably going to go watch it again 2 or 3 more times. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we get over 1,000 emails a week, but we do pick out a couple every day to answer on the show. Chrisley's got a few of them pulled out of the mailbag. So, Chrisley, what do we got?
James R. writes, hey guys, great show and first time asking. My question is, why were the Lord of the Rings so successful with the Academy but not Harry Potter? I thought the later films were very well done and deserved more credit.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for the question, and congratulations again to your first one asked, because that doesn't happen very often. All right, before I answer that question, let me reiterate this, a very important part. All film's subjective. Just because I like one film more than another one doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. It just means, you know, we come at it from different perspectives. You know, for different reasons, different films will hit us each differently. We'll have different experiences with different films, and that's all great. And that's one of the best films, or best things about film in general, is that it is subjective. Now, with that being said, to me, they're not even close. Like there's Harry Potter, which I wasn't thrilled with for the first couple of films, but I really became a fan of the franchise as the franchise progressed, culminating in Deathly Hallows Part 2, which I really, really liked. I really did. And by the end of it, I consider myself a big Harry Potter film fan. But if Harry Potter's here, Lord of the Rings is up here somewhere. Like, Lord of the Rings is just in another league. I have said this before, I will continue to say it for the rest of my life. I believe Return of the King is the single greatest achievement in film history. Now, when you take into consideration all the different arts and crafts that go into what makes a film, all the different disciplines of filmmaking, cinematography, editing, costume design, set design, directing, acting, script, visual effects, all choreography, on and on and on. When you consider all of the different disciplines that go into making a film, I don't think that any one film in history has achieved more in terms of greatness with all of the disciplines coming together at once as Lord of the Rings Return of the King did. And that's why it is the standard bearer with 11 Oscars. It won every single category it was nominated for. And it's just in a different league. Harry Potter was a very enjoyable franchise. It's a very good film, and it did get a lot of recognition. Did it win a lot of Oscars? No, but I don't think it was the type of film that was positioned to win a lot of Oscars. And look, that doesn't mean that to you should like Lord of the Rings more than you like Harry Potter. Not at all. It's great that you enjoy what you enjoy. But from my personal perspective, there's no debate, there's no contest. Lord of the Rings is a vastly superior film franchise, a vastly superior set of books, and that's why it was recognized that way and Harry Potter wasn't. But that does not take away from how good the Potter franchise is or your enjoyment of it. Aaron, how do you see it?
I agree with you too. I think that you're right, that it's all a matter of opinion. And also with award season, there's a lot of politics that are involved, depending whether or not certain films are recognized. But the way I see it personally is just that Lord of the Rings is art and Harry Potter is pop. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset with me in the comments below, but that's personally how I see it.
Aaron, you are a Harry Potter fan. Aaron, sorry. Chrisley, it's name confusion day for all of us.
It's all right.
I know you're a Harry Potter fan.
I am.
How do you see that?
You know, I think, I wouldn't say, I don't agree with the pop in the, but I think that Harry Potter is such a younger audience, and I think the people that like the Lord of the Rings are an older audience, so I think they're made that way. So while Harry Potter is, to me, amazing storytelling, it's fun fantasy, it takes you away, and you go into this land of amazingness, it's not ever going to be something that's recognized, unfortunately.
And what does Wonder Woman think about it?
Wonder Woman just wants her own movie.
All right, what's next?
Robert Renova writes, this question is for John. I heard you say that you don't like the Star Wars prequels. Even though they are not my favorite movies, I still love everything about the Star Wars movie saga. Yes, there are things I didn't like about them, but it was great to get back in the theater and not have to see an updated version of the movies that I already love. Is there anything you did like about the prequels?
First, guys, got to bring up this graphic here when you get a chance to put this graphic up. That kind of epitomizes my whole feeling of the prequels. Is pretty much epitomized right there. Yeah, I am. Look, Star Wars is the blood that runs through my veins. Anybody who knows me knows this is the truth. I live, breathe, die everything Star Wars. I even play the Star Wars desktop role-playing game, the West End Games version, by the way, not the West Coast Games version. But notoriously, I detest the prequels. That being said, and it's well established how much I didn't like the prequels, there are things in the prequels to like, and I'll go over a couple of them. The lightsaber battle between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, and then ultimately just Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, fabulous. Fabulous lightsaber battle. I can watch that 100 times a day. The music with it, the John Williams Duel of the Fates score, playing with it, you can't help but get goosebumps. It's awesome. Love the pod race. I know a lot of people who like the prequels. I don't understand that, but I know a lot of people who like the prequels that didn't like the pod race. I actually love the pod race. I loved everything about it. Also, at the time when the film came out, I was a producer and a client services director at a CG and visual effects company. And you have to understand the giant leap forward that the prequels were in terms of visual effects. You can't overstate it. It changed the game completely. And you know, there would be a lot of times we'd be sitting in the studio working on stuff, and then somebody would say, staff meeting? And when they say staff meeting, that means let's all run down to the theater that's 5 minutes away and watch Phantom Menace again, because we just wanted to watch the visual effects. Another thing that I really liked about it, and staying with the Phantom Menace, was that I liked the whole idea. A lot of films will have a big end battle, but I loved in the Phantom Menace how they had 3 big battles that were really all part of one battle. You had the Gungan battle against the droid army, you had the battle going on in the palace, and you had the battle going on up in orbit. And they were all connected, and that was a really clever piece of screenwriting that I thought worked quite well. Everything else was horrid and terrible in every single way, but those things I really enjoy about it, and that's just another great thing about film. Even films you love or hate, there can be things in it that you enjoy, and that's a good example. That's a great question. Erin, what about you? What are some of your favorite things about the prequels?
Well, I'm like you in the sense that I didn't love the prequels, to be nice about it, but there were a lot of things that I think were interesting about them. The visual effects were incredible. The costume design, amazing. The sound design and editing, I think that it was fantastic.
Ben Burt as best.
Really, so I don't think that it's something that you can just across the board say was a terrible movie, because there were aspects about it that were enjoyable, in my opinion. I saw all of them in theaters. I was excited for all of them. I didn't give up hope on the prequels just after the first one, so I was on board, although I overall disappointed.
For me, it was like a really bad abusive relationship. It's like I would go out on a date with this girl who would just be terrible to me and call me names and say I smelled funny. And then it's like, then I find out she wants to go out with me again for a second date. And I'm like, that was horrible, but damn, she's hot. So, okay, I'll go again. Star Wars is hot, man. So it's like, okay, I'll go again. And I go, and this time she slaps me in public and spits on my shoes and everything. And I'm like, oh, she's beat me down again. And then you think I'd learn my lesson, but no, a third time she calls me later and says, let's go out on a third date. And it's like, but I've been so abused in this relationship. But she's so hot. It's Star Wars, so I go again. And this time she just outright, takes a dump on my feet. And so at some point, and I'll never learn my lesson, because Star Wars is just the sexiest thing in the world for me, so I will keep going back. And I believe in J.J. Abrams and the new incarnation. I believe they will do a great job with it. I can't wait for episode 7.
John, you know what I have to say, though? I actually don't hate the prequels. I like them. I didn't love them. There's one thing that I have to appreciate by them, and I know that you all hate Jar Jar Binks, but what Jar Jar Binks was bring a new generation of Star Wars fans to get excited about this franchise. So we all grew up with the originals, but there's this whole generation of kids that didn't. And so I think characters like Jar Jar Binks and the softness that we all hated is what brought this whole new generation of Star Wars fans that are going to get just as excited about the next movies as we do. So I appreciate that.
Well, I won't debate you on that. All right, folks, listen, that will do it for us. We've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. And by the way, guys, happy Halloween. I'll be honest with you. This morning, I totally forgot today was Halloween. And I was so glad to see that Chris Lee decided to embrace the spirit of Halloween for all of us by coming in her Wonder Woman costume. For all I know, this is how she dresses at home every day. I just don't know. But listen, I want to thank, sitting beside me during the show, she is the correspondent for entertainment here at AMC Movie News, Miss Erin Darling. Erin, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Erin A. Darling, Facebook, Erin Darling fan page, and of course, YouTube, Erin Ashley D. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to be back.
And of course, our aforementioned host, Wonder Woman herself, Miss Chris Lee Kennedy. Chris Lee, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Lee, and I always dress like this.
And you can find me on all the various social networks at AMC, at John Campea. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, I want to remind you guys, tomorrow, Friday, November the 1st, we, AMC Movie Talk, are going to be at the Stan Lee Kamikaze at the LA Convention Center at 3:30 on the main stage with our special guest moderator, Thor, the Dark World star, Jamie Alexander. So make sure you come on down and say hi to us there. Thanks a lot again for joining us. My name's John Campea for AMC Movie News, and until tomorrow, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.